Welcome back to Caffeine Confessionals. My name is Allan, and we are here today to talk about the Challenge Battle of the Era, Season 40, Episode 14. Get into some big numbers here. I'm joined by my lovely co-host. We have the Southern Luke Muncie,
What's up, guys?
the Vermontian Zoe Trimboli.
Hi, everyone.
Final six men and women. Like, this is the point in the game where it's like the finals right around the corner. Every elimination, every daily challenge matters. How we feeling?
Like, it's not actually around the corner because we've got so many weeks still ahead of us. But fine, we are reaching the point, I feel, where it's like, give us a double elimination. I'd even take another purge.
Yeah, I was hoping, honestly, we would get down to 5 and 5 and start the final, and someone gets purged in the beginning of the final. Like, that's what I want to happen right now. That's where I'm at with this season, because I feel like the storylines at this point are just getting repetitive. So I was like, let's just find out who wins.
That's been the biggest problem of the last 7 seasons of the MTV show. It's the way the show just kind of drags in these later episodes where you expect it to, like, all right, now we're in the end game. Now is when things should be the most hype. And instead, it's just dragging and dragging and dragging. Last season, they actually did it really well where they had the purges and the double eliminations. And it felt like we ended that season kind of hot. And this season, season 40, it's not bad, but it has been slowed down a bit.
We ended last season hot, but remember the beginning when it took forever for people to get eliminated? So
And we had the month where nobody got eliminated, like literally nobody.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, and I think this is also a product of having 40 people, and losing 2 people a week was really cool. I think they stopped that too soon, and I think they stopped it for Rachel's sake, which I get in terms of like telling a story, but we could have like found a way to keep double eliminations going.
yeah, there's no reason that couldn't be a male and female elimination still.
Yeah.
I feel like that purge episode we just had a few weeks ago, like that was like a real nice kick to the system, and things have slowed down a bit. But overall, you know what? I think there were still good parts to this episode. We jumped right into the action. Michelle's coming back from her win, and we get a really, interesting scene where Bananas, Corey, Josh are the targets, and we get a flashback scene where Josh last week at the bar was like telling Michelle, "It's like I'll take the burden off of you. You put a target on me." He was volunteering, but we all know Josh was going to be a target anyway.
Yeah, I definitely saw this as him trying to curry favor about like giving her an out when she was, like you said, it was going to happen regardless. So I didn't quite follow.
He's also just like an emotional train wreck. So
Mm.
it could have been his way of really trying to maintain a relationship with Michelle because he does care about her. I think sometimes we forget like how driven by his emotions he is.
Speaking of, I'd hate to see another season where he says he's doing this for his family, how he wants to provide money for them. He won Big Brother.
He's done 10 shows now, too.
Right.
He's a gentle giant. I thought it was weird how, not weird, I thought it was totally predictable how his quote unquote alliance was giving him so much grief over not making the decision harder for Michelle. And I was like, where's the guy last week that was yelling at everyone for picking on Josh just because he wasn't doing what he wanted him to do? And now you're harassing him because he made an already foregone conclusion okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even that Josh is dumb, it's just that he's just consistent, and then other people around him also kind of just bully him into making decisions too. I I struggle to get a handle on Josh, but I do think in some ways he's a good reality TV character because he makes messy decisions just authentically.
I think he has a soft heart and no boundaries. Like he cannot set boundaries with people. If I'm going to psychoanalyze him for a second.
Yeah, and I think he also has no idea like the in-game path to winning this game. because joining the Angels, those girls are still putting Bananas above you every single time. Whereas, I mean, I guess the other side wasn't either, but the other side has more members. I don't know. The sudden switch up to now being like so pro Rachel and so pro Johnny was strange, which I guess he has been all season, but under the guise of being in the Vacation Alliance. I don't know. He is a good character to watch and sometimes dislike.
Okay. Want to jump into the daily challenge?
Yeah.
All right. I love the daily challenge this week. I think the past few weeks in a row, they've all been the same thing: run around, do a puzzle. And when you see that like 4 weeks in a row, you want something different. This week it was like a clear, fun throwback daily challenge. Jump off a semi truck and hit some targets. Like this looks like fun to do. I'd love to do this personally.
I wouldn't, but I did like watching it aesthetically.
Yeah, I honestly have no notes about it. I thought it was an equalizer. I thought it was fun to watch. I thought it was pretty well edited, all things considered. Like, I think it was a great daily, and we should see it again.
And this is the perfect type of daily you do once we get to like 12 people left in the game, because we got to see all 6 heats go and it didn't take up the entire episode. Because if we did this with a 40-person cast, they would have had to fast forward it and it would have took them 80 billion hours to like film it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Kicks off, we had Cara Maria and Tori go, and I think these two were at a big disadvantage going first in this daily challenge. Because they didn't realize how fast the truck would be going. They didn't get a handle on their dismount and jumps. And in the process, I feel like all the other players got a blueprint from their failures.
Yeah. They definitely suffered from going first. Tori also wasn't trying that hard. I don't know what was going on with Tori in this challenge, because someone said it while they were watching, like she wasn't even really jumping at all. So I don't know what was going on with her.
And I guess like if you're Tori and you do get the penalty, there really is like you're not going to get last next week. Like she knows how to kick it into high gear. I mean, she could, but like based on her track record, it's probably not going to happen. And if it saves her from having to pick between Corey and Josh, maybe that could work. I mean, I'm not saying she threw it, but it was definitely a strange performance. Probably like you said, because they went first, but it was definitely not her norm.
People were mad when I criticized some of Kara's weaknesses a few weeks ago. I'm going to do it to Tori right now, because if you go through Tori's history on the show, one of her weaknesses is kind of these heights and balance type daily challenges, where she can kind of be a bit of a bull in a china shop, where she's not good on a balance beam, she's not good at jumping from beam to beam type stuff. And I think this was a struggle for her again here, and it kind of got exposed here. She only grabbed 2 out of the 12 targets, and they were the inside ones. She got 3?
3.
Okay, then that will actually change something I had planned to talk about later. Next up, we had Bananas and Corey go. Corey had a disadvantage coming from last week. He did pretty good. Bananas did better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we always expect Bananas to be good at these kind of things.
After that, we had Jenny and Michelle. And Michelle definitely took notes from other people, because she only basically went for the inside ones because she knew that was her best opportunity. Jenny did better than Michelle, but didn't do amazingly herself either.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think we had 2 standout performances from apologies, guys. I have my photo of Cara and Tori, of like their ending performances. It says Tori only got 2 out
She
of 12.
definitely got 3.
She got 3, yeah.
Okay. I guess I clicked at the wrong time. I gotta rewatch that, because I was. Let's go into the other bottom female finisher, which is Aviv. She only got 2 as well, in part because she's smaller and dismounting is weird. I say this because I was. What?
Is it because she's smaller? Is that why she only got 2? Because, and I only say this because she has performed so well in some other things where it looked like her height would be a disadvantage. Like it was she just bad at this. Obviously she's not at an advantage for her height, but I think she also just didn't do good.
Probably, I mean, I think the size plus the lack of experience just doing daily challenges like this, and then also having the bad foot to dismount off of, all probably played a factor in this daily challenge. I think it's all three.
Yeah, that's fair.
Folks, I was so convinced that Tori and Aviv had the same amount and that they gave Aviv the disadvantage. And I've been perplexed the whole weekend. And I've written my blog. I had 3 paragraphs about it and 1 paragraph about it. But I was like, I feel like I've been put in a blender personally right now.
Yeah, it was 3. Because I remember watching thinking, oh, if Aviv gets this third one, how are they going to determine, who got last?
Yeah.
But she didn't.
Awesome. Okay. Jordan and Josh go. Jordan was so damn good in this daily challenge where not only was he hitting the targets, but he was leaping and kind of hitting them on the way back. Like he was like surpassing the targets and was just like flying.
He was also just like having so much fun, which honestly, if you're one of those other guys watching, it has to piss you off a little bit more because he's genuinely looking like a kid on a playground.
Yeah. I loved it because you could tell Bananas was really wanting him to miss one. And I was like, please do not give him automatic safety.
Less. Also, I think Josh's lack of athleticism was like in full view. Like it was bad.
The second I saw this daily challenge, I knew Josh was coming in last. Hand-eye coordination, like Josh doesn't have it. His timing on this, which is not there. How many targets did he get? 6?
Was it
I
that
don't
many?
even know.
I think it was 6 at the most.
Which,
And
considering his large frame,
it
was enough.
5. Josh maybe got 6.
It was a mess of a performance. And then after that, for the men, we saw Kylan and Derek go. Kylan did pretty well, but Derek did even better. Derek had a literal perfect performance.
I was impressed. And we'll probably talk about it later. Derek didn't like that people said they were shocked, but I was shocked. Like, he is not typically a top performer, which is just the truth.
I think it's genuinely shocking for him to be at the top of a challenge like this with Jordan against Bananas, against Kylan. Like, I don't think it's disrespectful to Derek to say that that is shocking and impressive.
Yeah.
That we have not been high on his potential, I think, moving forward. I think we've all acknowledged that he's like a solid competitor, but we think that he pales in comparison to the most of the other guys still here. But super impressive.
I'd say we've been generous to Derek because, I mean, if you actually look at the results in the past, like challenges since he's become individual, he's been at like the bottom 2, bottom 3 every single week. So to come out in this week and just put up a perfect performance, that's shocking. But it's also awesome because we've been waiting for him to have a moment like this, and he's been waiting a decade to shine on the show like this. Honest, he did well in some challenges on All Stars 4. That was All Stars 4 was one of the weakest male casts ever. As Zoe said, like against the Jordans and the Kylans and the Bananas to do that, awesome.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Rachel went for the ladies, and Rachel put on a spectacular performance of both like athleticism, fitness, and I think this is where like the road rules element comes out because I think this was a very like road rules throwback daily challenge, and she was just fearless in jumping off that truck and timing it, like kick-ass performance.
She had to save her man.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well.
Rachel kicked ass. As we said before, Aviv struggled. And then it came down to a sudden death between Derek and Jordan, which I think was just a super fun moment. I especially love that they made it whoever missed the target first would win because it just made every single jump high stakes and added some excitement to a daily challenger once.
Again, no notes. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, that was so where do we go from here? Derek wins, Rachel wins, Josh comes in last, directly into elimination.
And we know, and this is where I'm like, okay, we could have cut this off and basically just gone to elimination. This could have been a 20-minute episode. That everything, I think, from this moment on, except for one little tidbit and some rage bait for me thrown in between, was just like, oh, no, we could have just gone straight to elimination. This episode could have been 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Corey as the target and Rachel being a bananas angel, we knew the deliberation wouldn't matter. We knew the vote wouldn't matter. We knew Josh wanted to face Corey rather than bananas, which, whatever. But we get back to the house, and there's some stuff going on. Before we jump into, Rachel, bananas, Corey type stuff, I want to talk about Michelle, Cara, and Tori, as these three ladies are the three non-angels left in the house, and they've suddenly become very close and seem like they're actually like best friends.
Which is bizarre considering everything ever. Cara posted on Instagram on Tuesday something about like the edit would rather show an hour of Aviv's feet than to show her and Tori have those difficult conversations that help them like remend. Because on Dirty 30, they were friends, like very close friends. She hung out with Cara and Camilla after the season quite frequently. And the last we saw was Cara saying that she wasn't allowed back on the show until Tori won. They definitely had beef on World of Worlds 2, lots of social media exchanges. But now they're just friends.
I'm disappointed as a viewer that we didn't get those conversations. I think, one, it's just way more interesting TV. And two, I think it's kind of what people need to see on TV. Like, I think humans could be better for seeing those conversations. I think that these two actually make perfect sense as friends. I think they are very compatible.
I completely agree.
I think like life and the challenge led them in a certain direction, which put them at odds with each other. But I think in terms of their personalities and the way they move, they are very, very compatible.
Yes. The type of humor that translates really well to a certain age mom who uses a certain social media, which is great. Like, love them. But
Guys, I was watching those scenes like, this is so corny, this is so cringy, but they do seem like they're having genuine fun together. And if two people are just like having non-harmful fun, and I'm just like, you know what, I support that.
Who cares? Like, they don't have to be my vibe to be a vibe that works, right?
Yep.
Like you said, as long as they're not hurting anyone and they're having fun, like that's why I've never really jumped on the Tori hate train, because she's cringy, she's like dorky, she's very attention seeking, but none of that is like to me kind of harmless.
I could jump on it. I have many reasons that are backed in actual like whatever, but I'm giving her grace this season because I've been enjoying her. I'm hoping there can be some change for her. There are legitimate reasons I do not like Tori, but
Luke, I'm sorry, but I can't get over the fact that Zoe's like, I'm not on the Tory hate train, but she might have well been driving the bus right there in the way she was just describing her. But she didn't even mean it in a negative way either.
listen, I'm not on it anymore, but I have been before. And if you want to know why, you can find my Twitter and try to DM me if you can find it with the L's and the I's, whatever. There are legitimate reasons why I think that Tori has been a fraudulent freak on this show before. who, well, anyways, what's up?
There's also the third straw mixing the drink too. Here is Michelle, which is even weirder considering last season, Cara called Michelle out for elimination, was shading her in some like social media comments and posts after their elimination online, between shows, and like Polly said she couldn't trust Michelle after USA 2 type stuff. And now they're all three of them are together and they're all besties, and there's actually, I think there's more camaraderie between them and more fun than the Angels.
Absolutely. They're actually having fun.
The Angels, yeah, seem miserable.
Yeah. And Michelle is just, I think Michelle is a girl's girl. I do. I think that she likes to be around women. I think she likes to just like relax and not have drama and get along. So if she's found people that are willing to do that, I think she would be friends with just about anybody that would be nice to her.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Michelle is one of the few actually like genuinely friendly, like oh, anyone can be my friend type people the show's ever had.
Which some people on the show interpret as being fake. And I don't think that's what it is.
Yeah, I think she knows how to navigate a conversation, which a lot of people on the show could benefit from. This is coming from someone who just rewatched Michelle Survivor season this past week, just for fun.
You ripped through the whole thing this week?
Yeah. I'm still a Michelle truther. And then I watched like the highlight reel of Michelle on World of Worlds. Or not World of Worlds, season 40, Winners at War.
Close enough.
Yeah.
She was supposed to be on World of
Worlds. Yeah, true.
It's a good little factoid.
I'm glad she wasn't, because I think she would have been forgotten and she wouldn't have been on 40, and she came at the right time.
Agreed. Cosign. Something I'm not going to cosign though. It's Rachel's loyalty to bananas. We move into like a scene where, I mean, Cara. I was actually thinking this throughout the episode. I was like, I really hope Cara asked Rachel, "Hey, why don't you go for bananas?" Because I think Cara, of all people, has like the ammunition and the history of like with bananas to where like she's the type of person to actually ask that question, and she does. And I think Derek also kind of asked the idea too. Rachel says, "There's no world where I'm going after Johnny," and she even tells Cara. She even says in a confessional, like, "I think Cara plays a dumb game. I'm sorry that I picked Jordan and bananas and you picked Corey and Derek," which to me was like so misguided of a comment. Like, Cara Maria has been rivals with bananas and Jordan. Like, those are her two biggest ops in this show's history for like the last decade. Like mean, nasty rivalry type stuff. Like, she was friends with bananas for a little bit, but like, and she's been civil to Jordan this season. But historically, those are her two biggest male ops. And bananas threw her to that first elimination this season. So in what world were they going to be fucking aligned?
None. And it's like, well, Rachel, I thought Derek was your friend. I mean, we did just have a whole segment of the two of them. And like, I don't know. Rachel rubs me the wrong way. I'm so sorry.
I think that there's validity to her being one of the inaugural Mean Girls. I was really rooting for Rachel at the beginning of this season for all the reasons, right? I think she is a badass. I think she's a strong woman. I think it's awesome that she's representing the LGBTQ community. I think that she is just like in some ways such a phenomenal role model. And I think I was feeling that way because I was anticipating the Rachel coming in that is like a champion of women and a defender of women and someone with a backbone. And I don't think that's the Rachel that we have.
And I would even be fine if she said, "Cara, that makes so much sense. I have to put my thoughts aside for the game. I think I'd rather run a final with bananas than Corey." I could even appreciate that because that would be honesty. But she goes on, oh my God. I got pissed off all over again. She goes on to start talking about how I treat Bananas like he's one of my children. If he says something really stupid, I ignore it and don't say anything about it. But if he says something good, I make sure to let him know, hey, I'm really thankful and appreciative that you said that. This man is in his 40s. Like, she gives him these compliments, and he then makes a joke about how his own mother and his past girlfriends, who have come out and said some harsh things about him, they've never said that about me. Yeah, because you're a grown ass man who acts like this. And listen, good for the show. Lots of storylines. But like, this is who Rachel's going to be blindly loyal to. Please just call it what it is and say it's better for my end game.
It's
It's not a good human to you.
well, it's the epitome of some pick me bullshit, right? Like this guy can be a trash human being. He can say all these ugly, nasty things, but if it's not to me, then I don't really care.
Well, and she says, people can say what they want, but he's the epitome of a loyal guy to women. Bananas Angels didn't form until the game shifted in the direction where women saved men, and he thought, here are strong women. Totally smart move on his part. Absolutely. But like, it was not because he has your best interest at heart. He has his own best interest at heart, which is fine. Like, that's how the game should be played. But her confusing this is like, this is a friend of mine who's loyal to me, and it's like, I can't get behind it.
Their lovey-dovey scene with her telling him what a great guy he is, I honestly just wanted to vomit. And like I said, rage bait. This was rage bait for me because I'm not going to call into question her parenting tactics because I also think
No, I agree. Let me rephrase. Perfectly fine for your infant sons.
well, I'm I'm even questioning just not even gently correcting your children. Gently correcting your children when they do things that are wrong, because that is a way that you show people that you love them and that you care about them too. Like they can't run around being an asshole all the time. So not only is she infantilizing Bananas and comparing him to her, how I don't know how old her kids are, comparing him to her children, but accountability is a huge part of being a human. You have to be accountable for your words and your actions. And so for her to basically say, he can be the worst human on the planet as long as it's not to me, is just fucking bullshit.
It's reminiscent of the last episode, which, if you are savvy on Twitter, you've seen Devin and her go at it. And as we're recording this, who knows if there's more still going to happen. But she did just sit there. Michelle had a good point. Like, you are playing footsies. Sure, it might not be anything that bad, but like it is strange. She made a joke. But when Banana lays into her, you know, the one person on that bus who had the power to get him just to stop would have been Rachel, to be like, all right, Bananas, like, we're done. He would have listened. But I think she was scared he was going to lash out at her, which shows he's not actually good to you. He's only good to you if you stay quiet when he does his dumb stuff. But this is what's going to bother me, and I hope I'm wrong. I don't think she's going to be able to say, yeah, he's kind of skeezy in some senses. He was great for my game, which I think even he'd be okay with. But I think she is already in the mindset of other people that, like, I want to play future seasons. And what if I'm with him and whatever? Like, it just, I still love Rachel, but she's tanking really hard in my rankings right now.
As someone who gets paid to fact check for a living, when Bananas apologized to her at the club and said, like, you know, you caught me on a season, The Island, where I was at my lowest point, and then it took all these years till we did a season again. I was like, wait a minute, you guys did another season 4 years later called X's One, where you personally went after Rachel and kind of fractured her relationship with Mark Long, her longtime friend, and kind of manipulated that whole thing. You guys did a whole other season. So it's not like it was an isolated incident. On top of that, like as Zoe said, like we're rooting for Rachel in part because like she had 10 years of online smoke against Bananas. 10 years of it. Like even like if she'd been loyal to Bananas to this point, like awesome. You know, it'd be real cool taking a shot at him for the guy who ousted you on your 2 previous shows, who made you look bad, who's treated women terribly, and he can't take a shot back at you. And this show isn't your life. Like I know Luke said like maybe she does 10 seasons in a row. I wasn't thinking that for Rachel because she took such a long time off. I was thinking she could come kill this season and then right off into the sunset. Like that would be baller. Like take out bananas, fucking destroy this game, and just do everything. Like do all of that. Like he can't even take a shot back at you because you won the daily challenge. That would be so cool. Instead, nope.
She drank the Kool-Aid.
And to be fair, it is smart for her to keep bananas. Like it is. But
Yeah.
like I just wish she would own that it's smart. It's not that he's good to her. And he might have been good to her on the season, but that's because there were perks to it.
I'm just so beyond disappointed with her. And I want to say something about the Johnny apology really quick because I feel like he just took a page out of the Zach Nichols handbook in his apology to John A, which was, I was having a really hard time. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if someone ever apologizes to you for doing you dirty or treating you terribly, that apology should not include, but this is what was happening to me. That's not a good apology. Like, you're not actually fucking sorry. You're just making an excuse for your behavior. An apology is, I'm sorry I did that. I hurt you. It's taking fucking accountability, which these men are not capable of.
Yeah. And I can already sense the comments that are going to be under this video. And if you've already left one, whatever. I still like Rachel. I understand you get caught up in a game, but she is intelligent. And this is the third and last time I'll say it. She's perceptive enough where she could say, I'm setting my personal ideas to the side so I can win this game. But instead, she's not doing that. She's taking jabs at Kara. She's taking jabs at Derek. She's taking jabs at the audience who has an understanding of what she's been talking about for the last decade. It rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, and I still love Rachel, and we've been calling her game that she's playing politically and socially like magnificent the past few weeks, and even this is still like part of that game because she's set up pretty damn nicely to go to the final without having to see an elimination in this whole individual portion. Like Rachel's killing it. You know what? We're just disappointed. We'd like to see Bananas get a little bit of comeuppance, just once again, one last time.
From the person that promised it for a decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now we'll say some more nice things about Rachel too, because we then got the montage of LGBTQ moments as her and Derek like commiserate their win as like two winners in the daily challenge. Really awesome to see. The montage happened, and the thing I was most excited to see personally was Shane Landrum back on my TV screen because they pretended like he hasn't existed for a while, and he was pretty front and center early on there, so I was happy.
Yeah, I was most excited to see Nicole, Zanata, and Melissa.
I hate so much sometimes.
I was so genuine and happy with mine, and then you just immediately right turn.
I'll be honest, seeing Shane and then Frank and then Nani, it was like, oh my God. Like, I think it's a reminder too of how many people define the show who are not on the season.
Yeah, I really miss Shane. I think that was beautiful, and we talked about it a little bit before the podcast, but that is something that MTV and the challenge has been doing right for a long time, is representation and giving opportunities to people from different communities. Are they perfect? No, but I do think that they were the beginning of that.
Yeah.
There was a little point, I will like not to be a Debbie Downer. I think between like seasons like 33 to 36 or so, or I think we only got like one new gay male cast. And it was Sean, the guy that got eliminated first in World of Worlds 2.
Who I would have loved Redemption the best friend season, Ride or Dies with Big T. Like, it would have made so much more sense to reintroduce him with Big T on that season, but whatever.
Yeah.
We also got Huey.
Took a while.
We also got Corey Lay. Like, yeah.
Yeah, he came in 37, right?
You know, I'm bad with numbers.
Yeah. But we've been getting some back in, and yeah, it feels like we got the presence more than ever. It was a great montage, especially like seeing the OG roots too of like the road rules type era of the show, of like when like it's been such a big part of the show since its early days.
Good work.
Any other notes?
Bring back Shane and Frank.
Yeah, Shane ASAP as possible, please.
He was at Sylvia's wedding with Ashley and Amanda.
Yeah, the Lavender Lady should have been on this season, period. But we can move on.
Moving on, from Lavender Ladies, let's talk about the Young Bucks a little bit. Corey talked a lot about his kids, but then also we got a FaceTime call where Nelson popped up on our screen. When you talk about like season 40 and the history of the show, like Nelson was such a massive figure for seasons 29 to 38. Like he was so close to winning on Invasion. He was in so many rivalries, showmances. He was a comedic relief. He was a villain at times. Like he filled so many different roles in the show. And if not for his accident, he would have had a guaranteed spot on season 40. So, in that aspect, it was good to see him on our screens. At the same time, it's a whole lot of weird given the circumstances of what happened for his injury, and I don't know whether or not I feel comfortable him having a platform.
So, multiple layers to this, obviously. He was drinking and driving, confirmed, not alleged, confirmed. He wrecked, he lost his foot.
Didn't kill anyone.
Yes. You know, it's a consequence of his actions. I can still empathize with him that he's lost a limb. Like, that sucks. However, I'm not mad that he's featured here. That does not mean he can't be Corey's best friend anymore. That does not mean he doesn't have a history on the show. I wouldn't hate this so much if we had also seen maybe Nani on camera with, you know, Casey. If we had seen maybe Wes call into somebody. If we had seen Kyle call in. Some of these people who are missing had also seen them as a nice little like, oh my gosh, they're still being used as part of the show. But we haven't seen that, have we?
No, there was one other. I think there was a FaceTime call this season, but I can't remember who now.
Yeah.
But we get Nelson and we get a whole segment. And we talked before this. One thing MTV loves to do for their men is give redemption arcs. And I guess they did it for Nia too. But it definitely read as, ooh, we are really maybe considering marketing Nelson as our first amputee on the challenge. And I don't know how to feel about it. No, it's not great, to be fair.
Yeah, at best conflicted, but if I'm being honest about how I feel about it, it pisses me off. To be full disclosure, I've never been a fan of Nelson. I've only ever laughed at him. I've never laughed with him. I don't like the way he talks to women. I am just not a fan, period. Do I think that he was sometimes funny, again, to laugh at on the show? Sure. I'm really uncomfortable with them giving him this platform. And again, because the pattern seems to be we're not going to actually press these people to take any accountability for their actions, because there's also some messy things with like the GoFundMe around his accident, people paying money to support his rehab or his recovery without knowing what happened, which is also really grimy. I would expect MTV, when they probably do put him on a season again, because that's what they're alluding to, which gross, but they're gonna maybe in a 5-second clip address that he is at fault for what happened to him and then move on like nothing ever happened. He's just gonna get this hero edit.
Well, and if that's their plan, they even could have done this now. Like there's a way to approach everything where you don't like seem that bad despite it being horrible. But like they could have even had Corey being like, you know, he made a really bad decision. He's suffering the consequences of his own actions. Bam. There we have it. But instead, nothing was even said. Like it was this positive, inspirational thing, which I'm so happy he's still alive. I'm so happy no one else was harmed from his decisions. But again, the lack of accountability is just crazy. Like crazy, crazy, crazy. Thank Jordan's redemption arc that happened 10 years after his incident happened. Like so many people that have got redemption arcs who have not even addressed. I even think back to Nia, though. Nia had to address hers on All Stars, didn't she? The way that we do the women and men here is just absolutely baffling. I'm not saying that Nia wasn't wrong, but she has to take accountability on camera. The other people do not.
Yeah, Nia was kind of used. Her redemption arc was kind of part of Jordan's redemption arc. She was kind of used as a pawn in his arc. So they brought them back together almost to like distract people a bit, and then they're a couple. So it's like, oh wow. So I guess whatever they did wasn't wrong because now they're dating. Um, but no, that's not the case. Um, I've been covering the challenge. Like my first season was Invasion, and so I felt like such a special connection to Nelson because he was such a character. I wrote so many blogs over the years, so many tweets, like I once wrote a fantasy blog just about a dating show that he'd have and how dumb it would be, but how fun it would be because he was such a unique character. But this whole thing is like I just don't feel comfortable him being championed and like given an audience like this, knowing the circumstances. Because I wouldn't wish what happened to Nelson onto anyone ever. But that doesn't mean they can be an inspirational speaker because what they did was so reckless and dumb and dangerous. And then you add in the fact that he's been an asshole and done already so many questionable things on this show in the past 10 years prior. It frustrates me a little bit, but at the same time, I will always have a small spot for Nelson, and I do feel bad for him. But it's such a mixed fucking experience.
Yeah, I wouldn't like if he came back. I obviously wouldn't like. I'm not watching the season. He definitely has a storyline on here, and I think it could be a great way for him to take accountability. But I don't think Nelson is ever going to be the spokesperson for like making better decisions and not drinking and driving. I don't know, and maybe that's not his. I'm very conflicted now. Maybe that's not what he has to do. He just has to live with what he's done, and he's going to every day for the rest of his life. I don't know.
I do think when we're talking about like casual viewers too, they deserve to know what happened. And I could really see MTV just glossing it over.
Yeah. I also have to think too, and this might come off really wrong. I'm in my head, like trying to piece together. I've been zoned out. But we've had a lot of other people get DUIs and still be on the show. It's just not mentioned because they didn't lose a limb. Like, even.
Yes. But also, didn't Maddie get blacklisted?
She got blacklisted for.
Oh, other things too.
Well, she had 3 DUIs, 2 back to back, and then also 10 years of racist tweets. So that was like.
That's absolutely valid. That's
because I'm reminded on Total Madness, she had 2 DUIs, and everybody got so mad, and Ashley was like, "Go back to prison." But it's like, okay, so and D being like, "You can't use her personal life for the show." Yeah, it's done all the time, and also like that's a personal decision that impacts tons of other people potentially. But I digress. I think I don't know. The fact that we have so many strong emotions about it could be good for the show to consider putting him on, but it's like, do you really want to exploit that?
I just need MTV to go back to the roots of having the tough conversations.
Yeah.
I'm actually okay with it happening because I think I have to be because it seems like it's coming down anyway. But I think their roots are in having tough conversations. Why can't you do that now?
Yeah. Like, if Nelson's on 41, let's say that he is, I really feel like you do your montage, whatever, you pan to Nelson and you have him address the audience from the beginning. The last you saw me, I was blank, blank, blank on Ride or Dies and fell short. Was he on Ride or Dies?
Yeah, he was.
Reese. And I was at the top of my game, and then life hit me fast, making bad decisions, blah, blah, blah. I could have killed people, like really just an honest moment. And I think that would set like, oh my God, we can have this season. We can maybe even root for him a slight little bit, but we're not dancing around what's happened.
I just think he's the least coachable person when it comes to like actually getting a monologue type thing out of his mouth that sounds sincere, that feels like it's coming from him authentically. I think that production would have a really hard time getting that out of him.
Yeah. So instead, we're gonna get, "What's up, guys? It's Nelly T." Yeah.
I do want to say too, he had the shirt that said Nelly T, and behind him was a sign that said Nelly T. So he made sure you remembered who he was. That was like good brand aware, but yeah.
Well, and then also his last word to Corey was, I'm getting my prosthetic Friday. I'm ready to start something, maybe getting back in action, something. And then Corey's last thing about him was crying and saying, we always joke it should be me and you on 40. And I hate that that didn't get to happen. Like, it definitely is, like Zoe said, it seems like the writing's on the wall. He'll be back. And I could be wrong. It could be a huge insurance liability to have him back.
Yeah, I don't believe it because the last few times we saw Nelson, he just wasn't a good competitor with two legs. Like, no offense, like there's a lot of stuff he can't even do. Like, he can't walk across the balance beam with two legs. So I don't think with one it's really going to happen. I will say the week before his injury, I had a blog that was like top 10 most overrated players ever, and he was number 2. And then I didn't put it out because he got hurt. That was I would have felt really mean.
Yeah, the timing would have been poor.
Yeah, would have, and so that one got just shelved forever. That blog got shelved forever. Corey really does love Nelson though, and I do think like in terms of like friendships on the show.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Like, I can separate those two things. Like, I think that man is his brother and he loves him. And I think that it's totally normal and okay for your family and your closest friends to still love you deeply when you've made a horrible mistake. Obviously.
Yeah.
Move on to the elimination now.
Sure. I forgot what you were talking about from season 40. Oh my God.
Season 40, episode 14, elimination. Josh versus Corey, and people have been begging for physical eliminations, and this was a unique like take on a hall brawl type elimination, like an Oklahoma drill. They had 2 different starting lines in this elimination. Players were separated by walls. TJ blew a horn, and the player on the offensive side had to run down a longer path. The player on defense ran in a shorter path, but the player on the shorter path had to jump over some hay bales as an obstacle, and then the players theoretically meet in the middle before a bell. And if you get to the bell, you get a point. If you push your opponent out of bounds, they don't get the defense gets a point. So he's laughing hard because she just knows what happens in the elimination, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
We could have went pause and just cut to the end.
So I also, when this started, I was like, oh, this was made for Corey, right? Like, Corey is one of the fastest guys on the show, especially in a dead sprint, has a football background, is very good physically, like high athletic IQ. And in the same way, this elimination was made for anyone but Josh.
It was brutal. Before the elimination even started, they did the thing again with Josh where he looked a little bit. I'm actually going to send the photo here in our chat. He looked maybe a little bit nervous before the elimination, and meanwhile, production then cut in this footage of Corey looking focused.
Oh, I'm scared. Yeah.
That was before the elimination even started, and so that was not a good sign for Josh when they're hyperimposing your opponent's vicious-looking faces. You look a little bit worried. I've been begging online for years for them to give Corey a hall brawl or a pole wrestle, because even though he's won all these eliminations, they've never given him one, and I was so excited. We didn't even really get to see him. I mean, he gave 100%, but we didn't even get to see him be tested.
I really am wondering if anyone would have beaten Corey in this elimination, but again, we'll never know.
We'll never know, but I'm going to stand firm that I don't think so. I don't even think.
He's got the youth and the muscle on bananas and the speed. Same.
Yeah,
I don't know, Allan, how fast is Jordan comparatively to Corey in a sprint?
So I think they have similar speed sprints. I think here's the problem. Once they met in the middle, though, I think Corey could have just physically forced his way to the bell. So I think that like Corey could have got some stops, and because I think Jordan is the only person who could have been a threat to him in this elimination. But even then, I think Corey would have won out. We do have to talk about the Josh as the elimination because
I think it's telling that we're trying to hypothesize about how other eliminations would have gone instead of talk about how Josh actually did.
First round goes, Corey just jumps over the hay bales pretty seamlessly, pushes Josh out of bounds, and boom, first point goes to Corey. Second point goes, Corey sprinting down the hallway. Josh literally falls over the hay bales, and I knew it was a problem once I saw him because he got to the hay bales, and instead of jumping immediately, he kind of stopped for a second. And you can't stop in a dead sprint elimination.
He just there really was no point of best out of 4. I really want to know, or not even best out of 4, first 2-4. I have nothing to say. Like, I know that this is a whole podcast and everything, but like, it just was bad.
I'm looking for another photo right now, and it's because okay, I'm setting a photo. It's not good that I'm sending photos to you guys, but not describing the podcast. So people on the podcast, Josh literally did not know what foot he was going to run off of at the beginning when TJ hit the bell. Because if you look at his feet in these eliminations, he doesn't even know like what foot he's coming off of here. Because over here, like he starts off this left foot and then he switches back to the right foot when TJ like hits the horn. And there's just such a lack of athleticism in Josh that was so apparent in this elimination, where even though he's put in so much time in the gym and he could run miles and miles and miles, when it comes to the actual athleticism parts of the challenge, Josh just doesn't have it.
And people who hate him, be prepared for him to make deep, deep runs in future seasons forever, because he is exactly the person you want left at the end of the game if you have to go into elimination.
Well, and it's so funny because, I mean, obviously he lost, and we just said he's not athletic. Bananas went on to say Josh has all the makings. He's athletic. He's strong. I'm like, what? They went on to show the video of him and the elimination that he won. That was the laughing stock of that season. Like, great character for the show.
And Banana said that in that one confessional, but I'm sure he said the exact opposite many other times. And his face was saying the exact opposite during that whole elimination.
Yeah.
There were just so many little aspects to this too, where it's like Josh doesn't even know how easy he got off in this elimination. Because I was watching Corey in one of the rounds, and he was running on the outside of the ring so that he could curl in case if Josh came around, he could use his momentum, and that way he's not going to get pushed out of bounds like Josh did so easily. And it's like, but it didn't even matter because Josh couldn't even touch him.
That was the time Josh didn't even get over the hay bales.
Yeah, or he just was standing there, and Corey was already at the bell. And I'm just like, that's when we're talking about the hypothetical eliminations. We're like, okay, if Jordan faced him, Corey was still coming around that corner in like a really smart way that like he was ready to hit someone and go towards the bell, not go away from it.
I do hope we see this elimination again in evenly matched competitors, because I think it's a cool one. I think it makes sense. I do think it gives an opportunity to someone who might not be as strong but is fast. But I don't want to see Josh in it ever again.
Yeah.
Run this elimination back every week until the season ends with just better competitors, because I think this theoretically could be an awesome elimination. I think this, but it wasn't.
I do hate it for Josh because I'd like to see him in a final. How many seasons has he done without making a final?
A lot.
33, 34, 35, 36, 37, USA 2, this one, we're at 7.
And the record's 8.
Is that
with
might be
Amanda?
the record? Yeah, probably.
I need him to keep doing it, and for maybe Amanda to make a final or just be done. So well, whatever. I don't care. I want Amanda back on everything. But sorry, Josh.
Hey, 6th place on the 40th season of the challenge with like so many legends. Like that's, not bad.
He benefited from the format and timely wins from his era for sure.
Yes.
He was finishing it in the middle of the pack in those mini finals though too. Like it's not like he was at the bottom.
He's got abilities. I just fear he's never going to reach a final because he has such a glaring flaw in his game, and that is eliminations. Period. Doesn't matter what it is.
Not to go on a tangent, but you know me. He's somebody who should have been on 39.
Yeah.
Like, why was he not on 39? Why was Leroy not on 39? We tried to market this as like all these rookies who it's hard to tell if they'll even come back next season. I don't know.
The thing is, what frustrates me about Josh too is that he's put in so much work into his body, but he still clearly doesn't have the puzzle skills either to win a final. And he doesn't have like it's this like athleticism type stuff where, you know what, Josh, you know what would benefit you? Just sign up to take a tackling class. Just like go out with Fessy in a field and practice tackling, like learn how to properly sprint. You know, like do some drills, do some like tackling and running drills, like because it would very much benefit you on this show.
I'm just genuinely wondering if at this point in his life, if he tried to develop his athletic IQ, if he's even capable at his age.
That's a good question.
I'm genuinely wondering because I bet you there are people who develop it later in life. I'm just used to people who grow up with it.
Yeah, I'll save that for after the podcast.
He doesn't even know what foot to like run off of though. He doesn't even know like that's a starting point. Just know which foot you're starting up. You're starting your run on.
I will say, as someone that works with children, something that I notice is, especially in girls, is they're not taught how to run. Like they run cute or weird. And that's something that we don't teach well. Maybe it's just where I live. I'm not saying that's everywhere, but I've really noticed a pattern with like girls or sometimes really awkward, unathletic boys not being trained how to run correctly.
Bill Simmons used to call himself like the footwork doctor, where he would see people running and be like, that person's athletic. And you would kind of feel like that. I would feel like that on the challenge sometimes, where I'd see people run. I'd be like, oh, that person's good. That person knows how to run. So they have ability.
What about Kayla?
Kayla? I thought I saw Kayla run out. I thought she was a good runner.
Okay. She's the worst.
She tackled. What?
After she got her boobs on, she just ran like this the whole time, right?
I don't remember that.
I just remember like Kayla vividly stands out in my head as one of the worst runners I've seen on this show.
I was impressed with episode 1. She beat Marie in that elimination. I was on the Kayla train after that day.
I'm a Kayla lover, by the way. Like I'm a Kayla, yeah. But
they also were carrying those sandbags, right? So I feel like you don't even get a good idea for running. Yeah. Whatever. We're going off on a tangent for sure.
Josh lost.
Zoe,
Corey's back in the house. Let's talk about who they target.
Yes.
Corey takes a shot at the Angels, Aviv and Jenny. Rachel's not available because she won the daily challenge, and he takes a shot at Michelle because she took a shot at him. All those things make sense.
And I like that, like TJ addressed it with Michelle that she can't catch a break, and I'm glad that she said, when you've been in this position as many times as I have, eventually you're going to say everyone. So it kind of sucks because she's being penalized for winning her eliminations. But I also think he's not saying Cara or Tori over her. It's unfortunate Rachel wasn't an option.
Yeah.
Aviv has gone this far into her challenge career, and she's never seen a conventional elimination. She saw like a fresh meat exile at the end of Fresh Meat 1, but that's not like, a conventional elimination at all. So it's like, might be time to see her first elimination ever. She's got the disadvantage going into next week. Aviv versus Michelle would be a fun physical elimination. I'm not gonna lie, because they're just like, Michelle's got like half a foot on her, but Aviv's more muscular. I'd love to see those two scrap because they're just like,
I'd honestly be into Aviv and Jenny too, because it's not like Jenny was super impressive in her hall brawl against Tori.
Yeah, I'd be really into a Michelle and Jenny hall brawl because Michelle's gonna win, and
Well,
This
if Tori, if Tori, Cara, or Rachel come in last place, like any of them could be facing Jenny in something, or any of them could be facing Aviv in a puzzle, and I wouldn't want to face Aviv in a puzzle.
I think Michelle has to win though, because I don't think any guy is going to keep Michelle over those two girls.
Kylan.
Oh, next week we got a preview for next week's challenge, and it's a seemingly like a lot of water and swimming, and Michelle's really good in the water, so she does have a good shot to win. That does make me worried that Kara's going to come in last place though, because we know Kara's not good in the water. And then it seems like based on the trailer, Kylan's not a good swimmer, and we know Corey's not a good swimmer, so those people are going to be in trouble.
Jordan.
Also, TJ.
Derek's a good swimmer too. Jordan and Derek.
Also, TJ says somebody's disqualified, and I'm like, ooh, what does that mean? Like just from the elimination, or like from the competition, or what's going to happen?
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Because this week was 20 minutes in the middle of me wanting to fast forward. So I'm ready for a good episode next week.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to talk about?
I think we talked it all out.
And
All
then some.
right. Hopefully you guys stay as loyal to our podcast as Rachel is to Bananas. Subscribe to us on Twitter, YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify, wherever you get the podcast. Have a great weekend, everyone.